Pleasure is to have you with us. Thank you so much for joining us. A massive match, obviously, tonight, playing in a home, away from home. How are you feeling ahead of the game?
Thank you very much for the invitation. You're right that we are playing at home, but we are playing away from home. I think from football history, if you look at football history, you will see that our club is quite a unique club because for last 10 years we changed 7 stadiums, playing our home matches in European competitions. We played in Poland, in Ukraine, in Germany. Therefore, I can tell that in this situation, we are quite a unique club, and I hope that European fans, world fans will appraise what we are doing and how we reach our results.
Serhii, do you guys ever become used to this? You mentioned the displaced from Donetsk to then Kiev, bouncing around not only your country but internationally as well. Does it ever become easier?
No, it's not easy, because the question is, for example, when you arrive from Kiev to Gelsenkirchen, you should spend almost 2 days, and when you reach your destination, final destination, you are actually less powerful than your opponent, because from physical, from mental point of view, it's quite difficult to spend almost 2 days to reach your home stadium, taking into account that Atalanta spent just 3 hours for flight, and that's it. Therefore, for us, every game in Europe, in the Champions League, it's a very, very huge challenge. And when we reach some positive results, from my point of view, our players has become real heroes.
Serhii, Shakhtar have been in 8 consecutive Champions League. What would you say is the minimum requirements or benchmark that you guys look for as a club now?
The most, the most important is to keep your philosophy. You should, doesn't matter whether you have war in a country or peace in a country, you should keep your line, keep your strategy of development of your club. And if you keep your strategy, you will have this permanent positive results.
Just to say about that strategy, stay with that, Serhii. Obviously, Shakhtar have a great relationship with bringing through some young Brazilian players. Is there anyone that you'd like to say we should keep an eye on for that's going to be the next star to come out of Shakhtar?
To be honest, all guys who participate now in Champions League, you should pay attention to all of them. Gunnar and Everton. Kevin is injured now, but in any case, it's a future top star from my point of view. Therefore, our strategy, our philosophy, when we are concentrating on Brazilian market, when we are trying to transfer guys from Brazil, we continue this policy, and sometimes it's difficult because especially last 2 years, because we have war, and it's difficult to invite young players to country where is war. You should spend a lot of time to convince parents of players, agents of players to come here to play for our club. Therefore, last 2.5 years for us, it's quite difficult transfer policy, but in any case, we are still trying to keep our line.
I think the most impressive thing you guys do, you always have a very talented squad. You always compete. It's very difficult to compete against some of the biggest clubs in Europe. The new format, what are your thoughts on it in general? Do you think it favors maybe the smaller sides? Do you think it hurts the smaller sides? Well, what are your just thoughts in general also on it?
From my point of view, this new format, it's much more interesting for fans. It's much more interesting for clubs from a financial point of view and from a number of games. Because if before we played in group stage just 6 games, now we are playing 8 games, and if you are in a second and third group, you can play 2 more. For us, for Ukraine to play European competitions, and I think also for Eastern Europe, it's for Central Europe, it's quite good and big challenge. Therefore, and for fans also, because actually we are playing with different clubs. Before we played just with 3 clubs, and in 3 games, everybody, to be honest, become tired, because you already understand and you anticipate what kind of results can be, what kind of strategy can be, and etc., etc. But now it's quite interesting, because every game, new club, every game, new challenge, every game, new strategy. Therefore, from my point of view, UEFA launched a very, very good format, and I believe that this format will have quite good success in the future.
Serhii, you know, the story of Shakhtar is just incredible. Last season, I was fortunate enough to be there when Shakhtar played against Porto away from home, and it was infectious. The way that the players would come out on the pitch, and you could see the determination and the fight. And I think every neutral football fan out there is really behind Shakhtar. For anybody that may not be as familiar with the club, though, what do you want people to know about your club?
You know, first of all, for us, participation in European competition, it's quite big challenge. Why big challenge? Because we just playing not, you know, for ourselves, not for club. We are playing for our country in this very, very tough times. And for us, every game away in Europe, it's not just game. We are trying to send some kind of messages before game and after game, what's going on in Ukraine, because we should continue to fight. We should continue to fight all together with support of Europe, with support of USA and the rest of the democratic world. Because, you know, for us, it's very important to win this war, and we can win it just all together. And from my point of view, this when we are, for example, bringing some kind of positive results for our country, for our people living in very strong, very difficult times, it's very, very positive emotions, because you should understand that at this time, almost 100% of all news is coming about Ukraine. It's almost negative news. And for people living here, it's difficult to survive in this kind of environment. Therefore, when we reach results in Europe, when we reach results playing Champions League, for our people, it's very, very positive emotions. And for us, it's the most important to give these emotions to our fans, to our people.
Yeah, it's bringing them so much joy. Serhii, best of luck tonight. It's been a real pleasure to have you with us. We'll see you soon.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you.